I don't know what this is. I think this is 4. So we're ending it off on 4. So we right here with John Wesley Powell, having connections to illuminated families, religious families, maybe being a secret agent of Britain, being catapulted through the Smithsonian Archaeological after the military, and becoming the head of the Smithsonian, furthering the destruction of the evidence and the things to prove that the ancient people and the Bible has validity. The most prominent local figure was Robert Darwin, the physician son of the great scientist and poet Erasmus Darwin, across the Welsh Bridge. So they lived next to Darwin, bridge that led out of the town and into the countryside on the suburban meadowlands. Robert had built a large Georgian house, the Mount, where he presided over his numerous family, patients, and debtors. In 1809, when Joseph Powell was a small lad, the Darwins gave birth to a son named Charles. Darwin later became one of the most important thinkers of the modern age. Though in his Shrewsbury youth, Darwin was an unimpressive child of privilege. So he was unimpressive, and he had privilege. He was an illuminated family member who liked to spend his leisure shooting guns, playing with dogs, and collecting beetles. At an early age, Charles was sent to the Border Shooter School. So this guy was illuminated. He was set up to become the leader of his time, a private institution that prepared students for Oxford and Cambridge. So this thing were getting you ready for the best colleges. His father, who knew him better than anybody, said that he was a dunce, predicting that he would only bring disgrace to the family name. He might be right, because right now we believe his crap, but this is all coming to light. When I left the school, I was, for my age, neither high nor low in it. I believe that I was considered by all my masters and by my father as a very ordinary boy, rather below the common standard in intellect. To my deep mortification, my father once said to me, "You care for nothing but shooting, dogs, and rat catching, and you will be a disgrace to yourself and your family." But my father, who was the kindest man I ever knew, and whose memory I love with all my heart, must have been angry and somewhat unjust when he used such words. This is from the autobiography of Charles Darwin, page 9. His father was being kind. Charles was far below the common standard in intellect. Though the two future secret agents were born in the same town, their destinies differed. So they both were secret agents. And you can see by their illuminated family and their upbringing how they got the best educations and the best footings. Starting around 1830, the Powells joined huge exodus from England to the United States. Many of them were Mormons. Who was the foot base of the Mormons? Utah. You gotta think, bro. You gotta think. Many of them were Mormons, but many of them were Methodists. The Powells did not lack money. They did not lack money. They were illuminated. They were of hierarchy, as they were members of the prosperous middle class. So they were not the super elite, but they were the higher of the middle class. The Powells first settled in the Palmyra, the birthplace of the Mormon founder Joseph Smith. After 3 years, they moved to Mount Morris, where John Wesley was born. After arriving in the city, New York City, the Powells immediately moved to upstate New York and bought a house in Mount Morris, Livingston County. He was born in 1834, Wesley's father was a lay Methodist preacher. Holy scriptures were his mother's milk. For emphasis, he knew the story of Adam and Eve, the Noahic flood, the Exodus, etc., etc. He also would have learned the biblical age of the earth was no more than 6,000 years. That did not make any difference, however, because like a snake shedding his skin, he threw off his disguise when he grew up. Powell said that the Grand Canyon was carved by the Colorado River. In 1881, Powell became the second director of the newly formed United States Geological Survey. the first director. Clarence King was a Civil War draft dodger, and he was involved in a scheme to swindle, but I think it says swindle, John C. Fremont out of his Mariposa gold mine in California. As a snake sheds its skin, Powell discarded his parents' religion and became a committed Darwinian. In 1881, he became the second. So, you gotta see, in 1881, he became a Darwinian. So he's finding all these things that leave credence to the Bible and to the Israelites, and he's destroying them or hiding them because he doesn't believe it. He believes in Darwinian. The borough's main goal is to stop the mining and agricultural development of the West. So this right here shows you they don't want you to grow your own food. This is why they destroyed the agriculture in Hawaii. But they don't want you to be self-sustaining. So he was the head of the USGS, and his agenda was to stop the mining and agricultural development of the West. This is what Powell told the crowded room. I think it will be almost a criminal act to go on as we are doing now, and allow thousands and hundreds of thousands of people to establish homes where they cannot maintain themselves. Stewart cross-examined him for an hour, ending with the question that showed how little attention he had been paying. What is your plan for settlement? All the senators could do is slow him down, and his new department received more and more funding every year. So he was almost unstoppable. He had the backing of the British Empire, and he also had money galore. The railroad companies granted in return for building the railroads did not agree with Powell's view of land conservation. They aggressively lobbied Congress to reject Powell's policy proposing and to encourage farming instead. And they wanted to cash in on their lands. The U.S. Congress went along and developed legislation that encouraged pioneer settlement of the American West based on agriculture use of land. So our agriculture would be even worse off if these lobbyists didn't lobby against him to the U.S. Congress, because he would have destroyed it then. Right now we would be dead because we would have no food. So, but the most severe shock to traditional Christian orthodoxy was yet to come from Joseph Powell, from Shrewsbury townsman Charles Darwin. While Powell's were arriving in Palmyra, Darwin was boarding the HMS Beagle, a ship's naturalist, returning home from Latin America and South Pacific. South Pacific, Latin America, these are all Negro areas. After nearly 5 years, he settled in the village of Down, not far from London, and began cogitating over his experiences, particularly the strange finches and tortoises of the islands named Galapagos. 20 years of further reading and thinking led him finally to announce a revolutionary hypothesis. In July 1857, he put it in a letter to Harvard botanist Asa Gray. I assume that species arise like our domestic varieties with much extinction. He did not believe, that the flora and fauna of the earth, humans included, were the direct artifacts of God. So he did not believe that God created everything. He was against it, and he was for Darwinism. So that was the first great bulwark against women ruling over men, and Darwin was determined to substitute the ascent of man for the fall of man. So this passage in Genesis 3:16 says, "To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be your husband. Your desire shall be your husband, and he shall rule over you." he did not like this fact. He liked the fact. He wanted to bring what we are looking at today, where the woman usurps the man, where the woman has the masculinity to her and the man has the feminist properties accompanying his personality. And you can see it in the household. So this was his agenda, and I say he did a good job, because today we are living in it. So Darwin claimed to have found the missing link when he visited Argentina and saw the Fuegian natives with their primitive ways. As always, Darwin the dunce was dead wrong about the origin of the species and wrong about the Fuegian language. Darwin claimed to have found the missing link between monkeys and humans in Patagonia when he saw the primitive conditions of the natives. When Darwin heard them speak, he surmised their language consisted of a few grunts. In reality, it was more complex than English or Spanish. Here is a quote about the Fuegian language from a Christian missionary named E. Lucas Bridges. The belief that the Fuegians were cannibals was not the only mistake Charles Darwin made about them. Listening to their speech, he got the impression that they were repeating the same phrases over and over again, and therefore came to the conclusion that something like 100 words could cover the whole language. We who learned as children to speak Yagan know that, within its own limitations, it is infinitely richer and more expressive than English or Spanish. My father's Yagan or Yamana English dictionary, to which I shall refer later, contains no fewer than 32,000 words. So this is how he said they came from monkeys, or they grunted. So they must have come from monkeys. Yet we don't have any monkey DNA. We did not come from monkeys. Some white people with the rhesus root DNA, they came from monkeys. Their forefathers are monkeys. Like the routing earth fallacy, Darwinism is a pathetic attempt to overthrow the book of Genesis. Another reason why he didn't want this was because Darwin had married his cousin, and in the Bible it says, do not marry your cousin. So this states that, and he did not like that, so he was against the Bible. So it goes into some other stuff, but we're almost done here. So I mean, how much evidence is enough? I mean, I can go on, man. I got so much shit. So here we go. This is gonna end it right here. So let's go back to this. Dumb diverses. Okay, this is why we're in the situation we are in. Okay, the Papal from 1452. When did they say slavery started? In the 1600s. That is a lie. Because in 1452, they got the power back and was awarded the right to come to America and enslave us. They came here in the 1490s and enslaved us and took us all over the world to America. From South America. They took us to the Caribbean. They took us to Africa. They took us to Europe. You can find this. You can find this in books like The Blood Stays Pure, if I can see this. Let the blood stay pure. It takes 4 times the effort, the time, and 4 times as dangerous to come from Africa to America, rather than to go from America to Africa. It is much easier. So this is what they did. We grant you these present documents with apostolic authority full and free permission to invade. You can't invade them. If you don't find them, search them out. If you find them, capture them. And when you capture them, subjugate them. The Saracens, which is the Muslims, and pagans, which is us. They were calling us the children of God, chosen people of God, the Israelites, pagans. We were taught paganism from the Greeks, from Babylon, and any other unbelievers and enemies of Christ, wherever they may be, as well as their kingdoms, duchies, counties, principalities, and other properties. So if you go up here, this shows you how Christopher Columbus was boasting about he wanted to be the one to conquer the holy lands in Mount Zion. So this right here is from Seville. This is Christopher Columbus writings to the Pope, to the Queen Ferdinand and Isabella. This is a biblioteca. Okay. Excuse me. So this talks about the New World, how they captured the New World, and what he told the Queen about what he was doing. But if you scroll down here to the third page, it goes, while several important studies address the religious dimensions of the conquest of the Americas. Religious dimensions. Scholars of religion have devoted relatively little attention to this period in history of biblical interpretation. So they don't want to learn. They don't want to know about this. They don't want you to know about it. Or to place the Bible in shaping the Spanish colonial enterprise in the Americas. Among the earliest and most fascinating witnesses to the latter is a manuscript of 84 folios. There's 84 sheets, folios, dated between September 13, 1501 and March 23, 1502. So it took him less than 8 months to conquer the Holy Lands. And now, so this folios is dated between September 1351 to 1502 of March, and now preserved in the Biblioteca Colombina in Sevilla. So that's what you gotta look up to get the original document. You look up Biblioteca Colombina. It begins. This is the beginning of the book of collection of authorities, sayings, opinions, and prophecies concerning the need to recover the holy city and Mount Zion, and the discovery and conversions of the islands of the Indies and of all peoples and nations, for Ferdinand and Isabella, our Spanish rulers. So let me read that again, because this is going to be it right here, because I gotta go sleep. It's fucking 4:30 in the morning and I got kids. This is the beginning of the book, or collection of authorities, sayings, opinions, and prophecies concerning the need to recover the holy city and Mount Zion, and the discovery and conversion of the islands of the Indies and of all the nations, for Ferdinand and Isabella, our Spanish rulers. So, what the hell am I for? I gotta go to sleep. I only got a couple hours of sleep. I gotta get up. So, alright, so get it, get with it, and get up out of here. You don't need that negativity. You have to come together. Don't let what they taught you, how division, how we cannot be together. Don't let them teach you that, because that's what they taught you. Don't let that stick. Get through that. Follow the laws and commandments. Go back to the Creator. Organize. Preach one, teach one, preach one. Alright, shout out to Lex Real, 432 The Drop Radio. Let us find the truth. Get it. Shalom. Peace out.